You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show. The preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Are you ready? Are you ready for the roller fastest coaster of your brain, or whatever that guy said in the intro? I don't know what that is. But you know what, guys? We put it in the Google machine, the smartest people on the planet, and then we go, damn it, let's have those people on the show. And you know what? We have one here today. We captured one in the wild. This is a new joke run I'm going to do. This is going to be a callback in the future. We captured him. We you ever seen that Wildlife of Omaha? Boy, that dates how old I am, doesn't it? Where they go in the wild and they're like, and now the lion in the safari is going across the plains. So we captured him in the wild. He has agreed to come on the show, likely against his will or not. I don't know. We'll find out. And he's a brilliant, smart man. We've checked the interwebs, and that's one of the reasons we do this show, is so that we can have someone smarter on the show than me. And it's a very low bar, folks, for me. We all know that. You've been with me 13 years. Tomorrow we turn 13 years old. Who knew the hell that would happen? I wasn't sure. I knew it was going to be 10, but still 13. I'm tired. I want to go home. See ya. I'm out. Hey guys, welcome. I just want to see how long I can get away with not saying it. Welcome to the Chris Voss Show, thechrisvossshow.com. Maybe after 13 years, I'm tired of saying it. I'm going to quit tomorrow. Fuck this. Anyway, guys, you better make sure and go refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives, because we're going to extortion level now. Tell them to sign up to the show. Go to youtube.com/Chris Voss. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss. All those places on the internet, the big 120,000 LinkedIn group, the big LinkedIn newsletter. This will probably be on tomorrow. Also, go on iTunes. Give us a 5-star referral. Else I will quit tomorrow, damn it. I've had it. I'm enough already. 14, another, like a 14th year. Wait, does this make the show a teenager officially? 12, 13. Oh, my God, the show's a teenager. Boy, there's going to be trouble, and it wants to date now. Damn it, I'm going to have to get insurance. Anyway, without further ado, we have a brilliant mind on the show, and it's not me. We all know that was coming. The oldest cure in the world, Adventures in the Art and Science of Fasting. This is coming out September 6th, 2022. My God, we're in September. Steve Hendricks is on the show with us today. He's going to be talking to us about his amazing book. And guess what? You can pre-order it wherever fine books are sold. But remember, stay out of this alleyway bookstores. You might get tetanus shot. Steve Hendricks is a freelance reporter and the author of 2 previous books, one of which, The Unquiet Grave, the FBI and the Struggle for the Soul of Indian Country, made several Best of the Year lists. He's written for Harper's, Outside, Slate, and the Washington Post, or as we call it around here, the WAPO. We have many great journalists from the WAPO on the show. Hendricks lives in Boulder, Colorado with his wife, a professor of family law, his dog, and a border collie cross. Welcome to the show, Steve. How are you?
Excuse me, Chris. I'm great. That's quite the intro to live up to. Good
there
to
you
be
go.
On your adolescent show.
Oh my voice cracked at the beginning there, so I went off.
You've set the standard on the
I did a segue tangent that kind of went around the moon a couple times. Well, welcome to the show, Steve. We really appreciate you being here. Give us your .coms, those places on the internet skyweb where people can see you on the interweb.
Yeah, it's really simple. It's just my name, stevehendricks.org. I'm not a big social media guy, so I guess that don't tell my publisher. But the best.
No OnlyFans.
Nope. Okay. So if people want to reach me, go to my website, drop me an email.
Well, there's still time. Don't worry about it.
All right, thanks.
My OnlyFans, by the way, folks, is don't watch this. It will burn out your eyes.com. I think that's the name of mine. Anyway, guys, so Steve, you've written a couple books before. This is your third, I guess. What motivated you want to write this book?
Yeah, so I first wrote about fasting about 10 years ago for an article that was published in Harper's Magazine. And it was focusing on this 20-day fast that I took because back then I weighed a lot more than I do now, and I wanted to lose weight. And as I did it, I had explored some of the science around fasting and was frankly astonished, as a lot of people are when they first get into that topic, at how just how impressive the science of fasting was, how healing a mechanism fasting could be. But at the time, you write an article like that for a big magazine, a publisher will come to you and say, hey, do you want to write a book? And those books that kind of grow out of magazine articles that should have just stayed magazine articles because there wasn't enough there? That's probably what would have happened, I think, if I'd written this fasting book 10 years ago. But in the 10 years since, the science has just blossomed. My own experience with fasting has grown as well. And then I became interested in the history of fasting. And so those three things were what moved me. I thought after, letting this ferment for a decade, I thought I had enough to write a decent book.
Hi, folks. Here's Voss here with a little station break. Hope you're enjoying the show so far. We'll resume here in a second. I'd like to invite you to come to my coaching, speaking, and training courses website. You can also see our new podcast over there at chrisvossleadershipinstitute.com. Over there, you can find all the different stuff that we do for speaking engagements if you'd like to hire me, training courses that we offer, and coaching for leadership, management, entrepreneurism, podcasting, corporate stuff. With over 35 years of experience in business and running companies as CEO, I think I can offer a wonderful breadth of information and knowledge to you, or anyone that you want to invite me to for your company. Thanks for tuning in. We certainly appreciate you listening to the show, and be sure to check out chrisvossleadershipinstitute.com. Now back to the show.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried a lot of diets across my lifetime. People in my audience know this, but I've lost 75 pounds twice using intermittent fasting. I gained the weight back. Everyone's like, well, it didn't really work if you gain the weight back. No, I gained the weight back after a year and a half of putting my dog through hospice care and cancer. And after she died, I just quit giving a fuck again, and went back up in weight. Normally I shouldn't have done that. And, that was kind of a once in a lifetime thing, and we're going to try and keep it that way. But, lesson learned. But I being able to go back to that as a, intermittent fasting is a thing. So why is, intermittent fasting, why do you, tout it as the oldest cure in the world?
Yeah, so there are two kinds of fasting. There's daily fasting, which is what most people call intermittent fasting. And that's just, as you know, restricting your feeding window to a certain number of hours of the day and fasting the rest of the day. The other kind of fasting is prolonged fasting, and that's those long, usually water-only type fasts where people are fasting for a week, 2 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, ideally under medical supervision if they're going for a long time. But so both of those forms of fasting are useful for various reasons. But the biggest one is that either way you do it, you will unleash healing mechanisms in your body when you are not eating. See, what happens is our bodies are fixing damage that occurs to them all the time. Mm-hmm. The problem is they're only doing it at a very low level because most of the time they're very busy processing the nutrients from the food that we eat. Eating and digesting and processing food takes an enormous amount of energy and time in the body. Mm-hmm. Give your body a break from that, even if it's only for, a portion of the day. Mm-hmm. And your body is equipped by evolution to undertake these healing processes that, as I say, are happening all the time, but now they're happening at a much, much, much higher rate. And cumulatively, when you do that for, days, weeks, months, years, whatever, those repairs that the body is making add up. And scientists believe not only prevent us from getting diseases, but if we have some diseases, can actually help reverse those.
Yeah. And you prologue the book with a thing called criminal quackery, fasting for a cure. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So traditional doctors tend to look at fasting doctors as quacks, sometimes as even criminal quacks, because they feel that they're peddling something that's unscientific. In fact, fasting has hundreds of years, thousands really years of practice behind it. Yeah. And in addition, there are now decades of research behind it. But so the story that I start the book with is this story of this woman named Yvonne Vielman, who was a executive secretary out in California. And she came down with follicular lymphoma, which is a form of cancer. Yeah. She was 42. She had a couple of small kids at home. It's a terminal disease. It's a form of cancer for which the medical establishment will tell you, quite understandably, that there's no cure. The good news is most people live a long time, at least a decade, sometimes as much as 2 decades before they die. Yvonne did not want to die when she was 62. She was familiar with this because that would be, 20 years after her diagnosis when she was 42. She was familiar because she lived in Northern California with this fasting clinic out there named the True North Health Center. It's in Santa Rosa, about an hour north of San Francisco. And when she got her diagnosis, over her doctor's objection, she decides she's going to go to True North and undertake a fast under the supervision of the fasting doctors who run that clinic. And to make a long story short, after about 20 days of fasting, her tumors, follicular lymphoma affects the lymph nodes, the lymphatic system. And her tumors had been the size of, hen's eggs or thereabout. They began to shrink after a couple of weeks of fasting. And by the time she had completed 3 weeks of water-only fasting, tumors were completely gone.
Holy crap.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about this is, there are a lot of interesting things, but one of them is, you hear these stories all the time. They're just sort of one-offs and anecdotes, and you don't know whether to believe them or not. She had scans both before and after her fast that tracked this disappearance of these tumors, which then allowed the doctors at True North to publish her case as a series of case studies in the British Medical Journal, which is a very prestigious, very widely read medical journal, basically making the claim that they were able to reverse a form of cancer through fasting. Since then, they followed her up. It's been 8 years. Her lymphoma has not come back. She's cancer-free.
Serious. Wow.
Yep. They have
That is
fasted
amazing.
other follicular lymphoma patients with impressive results as well. And they're hoping to eventually be able to put together a more, these are case studies that they've published. These are not randomized controlled trials. They're hoping to be able to get to that level at some point. But, the important thing to know is that fasting can reverse many diseases that we are, that most of the medical establishment doesn't know that they can reverse. The other important thing to know is fasting, we do know, cannot reverse most forms of cancer. This is an oddity. Fasting it seems to be able to retard cancer. It seems almost certainly to be able to help make chemotherapy more effective at destroying cancer cells and at minimizing the side effects of chemotherapy to the chemotherapy patient. So it can do some great things, but I don't want to leave your listeners with the idea that fasting is going to reverse, their breast cancer or prostate cancer or, pancreatic cancer or whatever.
Yeah. Believing in flat earthism is I'm glad you made that distinction, because we don't want to lose people who go, they're saying that, fasting will cure cancer. But, there is some semblance to it, because like you say, the body does repair itself. When you go to sleep at night, your body goes into repair mode. And, that's when I lose most of my weight is at night, when it's, I'm sleeping, I'm getting up and hitting the restroom a lot at night. But it's, my body's flushing and get rid of stuff. That's why if, I can go to bed at night, especially at 54, be in pain, something's not working. Maybe the sewer system isn't working right, or I've got my arm's pulled or something. And you can go to sleep for a good 8 hours. You get that deep, beautiful rest and stuff. And you wake up and you're kind of all healed up. You feel better until, 2 hours later or something, 54. And so people don't realize the body's always doing that. In fact, my understanding of the body is a lot of times when cancer cells do first come out, or when them things that come out, the body will attack them and kill them off. And so the body has the ability to do that. This is science. It's not some sort of quackery, as you put it.
Yeah. You and I, sitting here right now, depends on which scientist you talk to, but probably have about 5 cancer cells floating around.
Yeah.
And it's up to our immune system to do exactly what you're talking about, to come out and zap them. And that's one of the things that you find in various fasting studies, both in the intermittent fasting studies and in the prolonged fasting studies, is that the immune system response is increased. Now, I don't know that there have been any specific fasting studies for immune system response specific to cancer, but the immune system response in general has been studied, and it has been shown to step up when you give it that time without food, as you're talking about, particularly overnight, to do its job of cleaning up your mess.
Yeah. And fixing you. I mean, it's just you wake up and that's the reason you feel refreshed and you feel good. I mean, there's sometimes I've been really broken and messed up, and a good night's sleep, good 8 hours, 9 hours or something, I wake up and I'm a new human being until I'm not again. 54, man, it's rough. So, the other thing you talk about in your book, because I get this a lot, because I'll tell people, hey, you should try intermittent fasting. I'll see a friend mention, hey, I need to lose some weight. And I'm like, hey, do some intermittent fasting. Or for me, I'm not a consultant or anything on it. I just tell my friends, hey, it works for me. Or they'll call me up and, they're like, hey, I saw you lost all the weight and, here's what you're doing. And they'll be like, yeah, it seems like some late stage modern sort of hocus pocus, like you mentioned earlier, the quackery. But you document in your book the history of this. I mean, like Christianity and other religions, I grew up in a cult, and one of their functions was you should have a fast on every Sunday, or every one Sunday out of a month. And so, I mean, this has been a part of human history for quite a long time, hasn't it? I mean, it wouldn't be that way unless it worked. It's kind of like coffee.
Well, I think yes and no is the short answer. Mm-hmm. The longer answer is absolutely. It's been
now, is
around.
that on the coffee or is that on the fasting? No, I'm just kidding.
On the fasting. The history of fasting goes back to the earliest writings 3,000 years ago. It appears in virtually every major religion in the world. The one exception to that, interestingly, is Zoroastrianism. Zoroaster thought that fasting made you too weak to produce vigorous heirs. And
were they the cult that started McDonald's? Is that how that worked? I heard of those guys. They're trouble. They were always trouble.
Yeah. So anyway,
the Zorro people. Was it the Zorro people? Was it?
No idea on the McDonald's front.
No, but what was the name of the tribe again, or the religion?
The Zoroastrians.
The Zoroastrians.
Yeah. They were in ancient Persia, which is now Iran.
Note to self: don't join what was it again?
Zoroastrians.
Yeah, don't join those guys. Are they still around? Probably not.
They are.
Do they have a church in Florida? Is that how it works out? Is it a big pink building?
Florida, you would think Florida's got a little bit of everything kooky, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Do they have a guy who wrote a book called, never mind, I'm not going to pick on Tom Cruise and John Travolta, but they should come out of the closet. Anyway, jokes aside, so is your book more of a teaching thing on how to do fasting and here's how it works, or is it more like a historical thing and documenting why it works and the science of it and the practice of it, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, more the second. It's more about I wanted to tell a more complete story of fasting than had been told. So in the history, for example, if you read books on fasting now, there's a lot of information out there that's just not quite right. They'll tell you, for instance, that the ancient Greeks fasted, which they did, and they knew what they were doing and that this was a great cure, and somehow just humanity lost this over the years. Turns out nothing's further than the truth. They did fast. They did try to fast for a cure, but most of the time they had no idea what they were doing. They were stumbling around as they were in all the rest of medicine, not figuring things out. So I wanted to tell a fuller, and I've hopefully thought a more accurate story than had been told before. And I also really wanted to explore this new science that I had mentioned earlier, because there gosh, I don't know how many there are, dozens of how-to fast books. And the world didn't really need another how-to fast book. You can glean some how-to fast lessons from what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. But I mostly wanted to explore some of these things that hadn't been explored. And then also I wanted to do some fun first-person reporting by going to the world's leading fasting clinics. There's one in Germany I went to. There's this True North Clinic in Northern California that I went to. And so So that's what the book is, but it's not like a, how-to guide, I'm going to walk you through, every day of your fast.
And I like that you did this, because seriously, that's like one of the biggest things that people throw back at me over fasting. They go, well, I don't know, I'm familiar with the Atkins and whatever the fad diet is of the week, and Weight Watchers and all these different programs. And I'm like, no, fasting's been around for like, like you mentioned in the book, back to Greek days. The Greeks did it. Christianity did it. Like what I say, just like coffee, there used to be a whole thing where, coffee was like one of the highest trades things in the world. And for a good reason, because I'm 54 now. We live on, this whole show runs on coffee. There wouldn't be a reason that it's been around for so long. Atkins diet was started in the 80s or 90s or something. There's all these fad diets. And the beautiful thing about fasting too is it doesn't really cost you anything. There's no program. You don't have to buy a meal plan. I mean, yeah, if you do want help, or maybe you want to have some medical help or medical advice, you can go get that. And I'd recommend that. But for the most part, you don't really need to have, you don't have to buy meal plans every month to be sent to your house, basically, for fasting.
Yeah, the daily fasting, the intermittent fasting in particular, it's really simple. You just compress your eating into, let's say, 6 or 8 hours if you can. If you can't do that, even compressing it down to, say, 10 hours or so. Yeah. Great. That's it. You don't even have to change what you're eating. Now, it's healthier if you eat a healthy diet, of course. Fasting doesn't fix your bad diet.
Don't go to McDonald's.
The McDonald's fast is not recommended. So
neither is the vodka fast. Don't do that. I've tried that fast. The vodka Mountain Dew fast.
I met a couple of Lebanese guys at this German clinic who were going into town each night. They would fast during the day. They'd go into town each night, hit the bar, and do I forget what it was, a gin and tonic fast.
Yeah.
Not recommended.
I've tried that fast. In fact, I'll tell you a funny story. The first time I tried the fast that I got from Pesto and Ray Cronize, and it was mostly from Penn Jillette's book on Presto. I tried the fast, and I gave up everything except for my Mountain Dew, which I was drinking like 10 plus a day, and my vodka at night. And the first 30 days, I thought, I'm doing really good. I might have lost a little bit of weight, but yeah, it was just dumb what I was doing. And after 30 days, I went, yeah, it's probably the Mountain Dew and the vodka. But no, I mean, it was really simple. I mean, okay, so what do I drink now that I'm not drinking Mountain Dew anymore because I am a caffeine junkie? Okay, you replace it with coffee. Okay, you make sure you don't put coffee or fat in your coffee in the morning. You go to sleep at night. And, there was a lot of principles that were really important that I learned in kind of mind hacks, because there's some mind hacks I really had to learn. Like, my mom used to do a thing where she would reward us with a candy bar and a soda if we were good at the store, which usually we weren't anyway. But my little brother wasn't. But, and so we got this reward thing. Food is reward. And so, you'd be driving around, you're like, hey, I'm kind of hungry. I have a Big Mac. Fuck, I did some shit today, so let's get a reward. That's not a reward. You're shoving Franken meat in your system that has probably zero nutritional value if you ever watch Super Size Me. And that's why you're still hungry when you get done eating. Same thing with Chinese food, I think. I don't know what that's about. But, it's really simple. I would go to bed hungry, realizing that we eat for a winter that never comes. I think it's Cronize or Penn Jillette I'm quoting. And you're not going to die. I would get the shakes, if I didn't eat for a couple hours. I'm like, oh, holy crap, I'm going to die. I've had people tell me that are fasting people. They're like, Chris, at your weight, you could go a year and not eat, and you'll be fine. You got plenty to live off, baby. And so that was it.
Yeah. Your friends were probably exaggerating a little bit there, but yeah.
I was 350 at the time. So.
You might get close to a year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you are making a change to, you're used to eating all the time, you're used to Mountain Dew, you're used to candy bars, you're used to vodka, whatever it is, any change you make is going to be hard. Yeah. So it's not exactly, it's not the most level test. Most people who do this, time restricted feeding windows, this intermittent fasting where you just compress your eating window, actually find that it's way easier. Studies have confirmed that people on these eating windows are either no more hungry than they were when they were eating across 16 hours a day, or they're even less hungry. And a piece of that is because when you compress your eating window, you do burn a little bit. It's not a ton, but a little bit more fat each night. That releases these ketone bodies, which are the breakdown products of your fat. Ketones suppress hormones. Suppress not all your hormones, suppress your hunger hormones. And that may be part of the reason why people feel less hungry. A piece of it also, though, is just when you say, look, I'm going to eat between whatever it is, 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. each day, and that's all I'm doing. Taking it, just setting aside the rest of the day, saying that's off limits, the psychological impact of that, I think, probably plays a role also in making people less hungry. Just having nope, this is just beyond the border. It's hard for some people, but most people say that after 2, 3, 4 days of it, it's the easiest, form of, food restriction that they've ever done.
Yeah, you have to realize you're addicted to sugar. You're addicted to sugar is like in everything. And so I just started drinking coffees, and that fixed my Mountain Dew jack. I mean, I literally cold quit Mountain Dew and went to coffee. And all I was doing in the initial days was I would go to bed. If I was hungry, suck it. I go to bed. I drink like a big glass of water if it was bugging me. And then I would go to bed. I wake up. First thing in the morning is a coffee. And then I keep drinking coffee until I wanted to kill someone. And then usually once I I was at the verge of murderous rage, which is, daily, still. And that's Fridays around here. So I would eat something. And it first started where I just have like a normal meal. Sometimes it'd be bad and go to Taco Bell. I mean, you shouldn't do that. But, this is my journey. And I was losing like 2 to 3 pounds a day. And I was 350, so there was quite a lot to spend off there, but people were shocked. Like women were pissed at me. I started doing a thing where I would post my weight from my Withing scale every day on my Facebook as an accountability thing, and I'm like, I'm going to post my weight every day, so my audience is going to know if I cheat, which is very powerful because sometimes I'd be sitting at home going, I really want to go to McDonald's. And I'm like, my audience will know tomorrow because it's going to show up. They're going to be like, hey, post boy, where's your thing there? But yeah, I lost 75 pounds and I've done it twice now. And now I'm at the point where I intermittent fast. I know the game pretty good. I do vegan. I go vegan during a fast. There's pick your 500 variation of veganese. It's not full vegan, but it's veganese. Let's put it that way. Whatever the hell version it is, but it's largely vegan. I haven't had meat in a while. No, I had a taco the other day and it was like fake meat from Del Taco. I cheat. I'll be honest, but no, 2 to 3 pounds a day. Like women hated the fuck out of me. They were like, I hate you. I don't want to be friends with you anymore. 2 to 3 pounds a day. Like I've waited my whole life, but no, it works. And, it's just your body. You learn that your body can do this,
Yeah. Well, any diet can work, right? It's just a matter of calories in and calories out. Yeah. If you are burning more calories than you're taking in, you're going to lose weight. Now, we do burn calories differently. Some people have a high burning metabolism. Some people have a slow metabolism, and it sucks to be those people. Sorry, but it's only probably a few hundred calories a day. It's not like thousands of calories or something that we're talking about. So yeah, one of the ways that the time-restricted eating windows, the intermittent fasting gets you to lose that weight is you're just roping off parts of the day and saying, I'm not eating during those parts of the day.
Yeah, and we hate those people with high metabolisms, right?
We do hate them, but, what are you going to do? So anyway, yeah, the one thing that I would say is your fasting scientists and doctors would tell you, go ahead and eat during that window. If you're starving yourself during that window and you're just living on coffee and saying, hold off, one of the things that the new research has turned up is we actually are better at burning fat and making repairs if we stack our calories earlier in the day. Most people do intermittent fasting by skipping breakfast, and they just hold out until lunch rolls around at noon, and they eat from noon to 8. The new research is showing actually we process food way better in the morning, and it's way better for our health. Yeah, I hated hearing that. I wasn't a breakfast guy. I was a late night eater. It was absolutely the last thing that I wanted to hear. And when people, when the research I was reading was saying, well, you really, for maximum health, ought to be shifting your eating window earlier in the day, eating a big breakfast and lunch and the small sort of light and early dinner, like even as early as mid-afternoon. I was like, forget that. That's nonsense. I love dinner time. I hate breakfast time. I switched, Chris, and I got to tell you, it was the easiest big switch I've ever made. I used to have an eating window from like 11 in the morning till 7 or 8 at night. I now have one from 8 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon. It's been great, and I feel miles and miles better. And that's the response the research subjects in these studies have also had.
So you're still doing a 16-8. You just moved it to a different place in the time.
Yeah, it's more like an 18-6. I just shifted it earlier. So rather than skipping breakfast, I skip dinner. Or I don't even skip dinner because I still eat dinner. I just eat dinner at 2 in the afternoon.
Wow.
I don't eat it at 5, which most people think, or 6 or 7 sounds crazy.
Yeah.
But it actually it's been fantastic for my body, and there's research behind it.
I had to try that. One thing I've been struggling with lately is insulin resistance. And, I've been fat for 54 years. And I really destroyed my system. And, now we're doing all sorts of gut health stuff and different things to try and make sure that works. And, I probably destroyed you mentioned earlier, the ability, I was doing that joke. But I might try that because I've had to do longer fasts now to break through an insulin resistance point. And then I'll lose like 10 pounds. And then I've got to do longer fasts, a day or more. And that gets really harder. Well, a lot of people don't realize about fasting too, is sometimes you're not really hungry. You're just dehydrated. That was an important thing I learned. You just need some water.
Totally.
You don't need a Big Mac. You need some water, man. You're killing yourself. People don't drink enough water, especially if they're drinking like these pops all the time. And, every now and then I'll have like an energy drink, and that thing will dehydrate the crap out of me.
Yeah.
One of those carbonated ones. And the rock stars with the no sugar. Like I had one last night, and I mostly do it for the taurine and stuff. And it's kind of a fun hit, but man, that carbonation will screw me up and dehydrate me. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah, they're diuretic. I mean, stay away from those if you can.
Is that what it is? Okay. Yeah.
So you're on your insulin thing. You might be happy to know that that's one of the most studied effects of these early time restricted eating windows. Our bodies were made to be less insulin resistant in the morning and early afternoon.
Really?
Yeah. So there are these fascinating studies where you take groups of people, you feed them the exact same meal at 7 in the morning and the exact same meal at 7 at night. 7 in the morning, process it just fine. 7 at night, some of these normal, more or less healthy people will start testing pre-diabetic.
Wow.
You do the exact same thing to pre-diabetics with these meals at morning and night. And at the nighttime meal, they'll test full-fledged diabetic. Some of them will stay testing diabetic all the way until the next morning. The sugar stays in their blood so much, and their insulin is so poor at opening up the cells and letting the sugar out of the blood into the cells.
Wow.
So insulin resistance, if that's a problem for you, is one of the main reasons to do a early time-restricted feeding window, to shift that window.
I might try that. Do you have like eggs in the morning, some protein, or do you eat something light? Or
I'm full-on vegan, so no eggs. I just eat plants, and it's
I have a salad every day. I have a big salad we make.
Start my day with a huge salad, and then I do a big bowl of oats, and then it's curries and stews, and
I might like that better because there's when I wake up during the day, there's a lot of pressure. And, sometimes I want to murder everyone, 9 to 5.
So like everyone.
Pretty much.
like all of us.
Except for you.
All of us feel that way.
You seem nice. Yeah. It's basically, if you go online and read the news, you pretty much want to murder everybody. But that's what the judge says. No more murdering. evidently. And then he'll take the ankle bracelet off. But, I might try that. I didn't even know about this version. So, but it's good you've put this history down so people have it and they have the data for it. And, it's your biology, man. It's the same thing with and here's the other funny thing. I don't know if you studied this or you can tell me right or wrong in it, but I won't lose weight if I get 6 hours. What's that chemical in the body that you got to have that's stress related? Cortisol? Cortisol, yeah. So if I don't get 8 hours of sleep, not only will people get murdered, but I won't lose weight as much. I've got to have that full 8 hours. I've got to have that deep, drool. I wake up and like half my bed is afloat and drool. I've got to have those dead sleeps that are like movies and stuff. And I've got a great sleep aid bed that warms and cools, and it's got an AI that keeps me at the right temperature that I sleep my deepest. And so plug. If I get those 8 hours of sleep, baby, I'm getting on that scale in the morning and that thing is going down.
Yeah, it's not my field, but what I know about it, absolutely, there's research to support that if you don't get enough sleep, it interrupts the fat burning process. Yep. And we do, to oversimplify a little bit, our body can be in fat making mode, which is what it's in most of the day, packing on fat from the food we eat. Fat burning mode happens mostly at night when we sleep. So, you can ramp it up a little bit with exercise, but not by, crazy amounts. So you do most of your fat burning when you sleep. The other thing to know is your fat burning mode doesn't start until 6 hours after your last food. And it doesn't ramp up into overdrive until another 6 hours. So 12 hours after your last food. So people who are eating 15 hours a day and then, they get 9 hours without food overnight before they have their first food of the next morning. They're only hitting, they get 6 hours into their 9 hours without food. They're only getting 3 hours of, fat burning, and they're never reaching that next stage after 12 hours where they're getting that overdrive fat burn. So if you can go at least 12 hours and better still 13 or 14 or 15 or 16, you're getting a lot more hours of fat burn and you're getting into that overdrive fat burn. And one other little interesting thing about that is the fat burning mode coincides with your body's repair mode. So the more time you go, you're not just burning fat, you're repairing the damage over the day to your cells, to your DNA, to other things that would turn into disease.
There you go. I'll tell you something that's funny too, is I started a weird habit during COVID, and I think it was anxiety and worry, and it just exhibited itself. And I started sleeping only 4 hours at a time. And what I would do is I would sleep for 4, and then I would wake up, and then somewhere in the middle of the day, I'd take a 4-hour nap, get the rest of the 8 hours, because I can't go more than 2 days of that 8 hours or someone will die. Just talk to my judge. So that's a joke, people. Don't talk to my judge. It's bad enough already. I'm in deep. No, I do not become a nice person if I don't get 8 hours of sleep. I can go a day, but by the second day, then I go zombie-ish. So what's interesting is, and I still do it every now and then, since COVID, but I'll sleep for 4 hours. I'll wake up and I'll be energized, and I'll have actually gained a pound or two. And then I will do, part of my day. And then maybe after a bunch of podcasts like we've done today, I'll go take a 4-hour nap and get my 8 hours in over a 24-hour period, right? What's funny? I'll lose 3 pounds, 2 to 3 pounds in that 4 hours. And that 4 hours will be my drool REM sleep. Like, that's the crazy dreams. I'll wake up, the pillows, I'll float in the bed. Anytime I wake up and I've been drooling, I know that I'm going to hit the scale. I know that's gross, people, but I'm sorry. I'm just giving you the science on it. But I'll wake up, I'll get on that scale, and that sucker, I'll be like, it's 3 pounds in 4 hours, which isn't the truth of it, but it's just how powerful it is, I guess. I don't know what point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, I'm going to say that no clue why that happens, but boy, you're going to make an interesting test subject.
Aren't they though? Yeah.
You just need to volunteer for the right study.
Hang on, I'm getting phone calls from the drool pillow people. It's a wonder I don't have like one of those boats on my pillow. No, it's seriously like the deep sleep. I've got this bed called the 8 Sleep, and it tracks my REM, and somehow I knows very creepily when I'm in the deepest sleep. And you can track it and correlate it with my weight loss, and it's pretty interesting. But I'm going to try this morning thing because I keep getting stuck. After 75 pounds, I'm kind of stuck, and I'll get unstuck. I'll go like a 20-hour fast, and I'll get unstuck, and then I'll lose 10 pounds, and then I'm stuck again. And then there's like a range I'm kind of playing in for a while.
Yeah, but, I think one key to getting unstuck. Mm-hmm. Maybe this will work for you, maybe not, maybe for your listeners. But you know what the scientists will tell you is don't approach this as a diet. Yeah. Just approach this as the way you eat. If you're thinking, I'm only going to do this for 3 months, why bother? Because at the end of the 3 months, you're going to be happy with whatever weight you've taken off. 3 months later, it's all or most of it's going to be back on. Yeah. If you make this just, this is the way I eat, day in, day out, year after year, it works for an awful lot of people.
I would totally agree with you and second that motion. I think we carried it. The thing is too, is the older you get, the less you can do this stupid stuff, the drinking, the partying, the eating at McDonald's. I had to give up drinking several years ago. I mean, I was fine drinking, had a good time. It was a nice sugar juice. But you start to feel the effects on your body after 2 or 3 days. And I think one of the things that happened to me with fasting and going veganese, my version, was my body was like, okay, well, we really enjoy this. And I learned about gut health and how important the whole sewer system is to your system. And actually we've had authors on that have talked about how the sewer system in your gut actually affects your brain and things in your brain. It affects your whole body. You're either a walking junk pond of crap that you've thrown into it, or you've given your body nutrients that go, thank you. And your body, this from being a vegan, your body will thank you. Your body will be like, hey, we're going to make you feel really good today. And you're going to be, like one thing I tell people when I fast is I'm really alert. It's that whole thing of, the lion who hasn't eaten for a couple of days, he's jacked up so he can do the thing. And I go through my day like I'm sharp as hell, Sometimes I might be too sharp, but that could be the coffee. It could be the coffee jitters. But no, you get really focused. I can see better. But yeah, the older I get, the more my body is like thanking me. It's just like, hey man, glad we could be friends finally after all these years.
Yeah, it's amazing what you could get away with when you were young. Unfortunately, what the research is showing is we didn't really get away with that. No. So, what we now know is diseases like cancer, for example, they take 10 or 20 years to show up. You don't get breast cancer or prostate cancer or whatever it is. And, it's just that you weren't living right for the past 18 months or something. It tends to be from, and we now know that the vast majority of cancers are almost certainly caused by our lifestyle, chiefly by our diet, what we eat, what we drink, whether we smoke, things like that. And so, those things build. And eventually those same sort of forces are what, lead to cardiovascular disease or dementia or, any number of horrors. So, me too. I didn't treat my body as well as I should have 10 or 15, 20 years ago. I feel fantastic treating it better now, but I'm sure that there's some price that's going to have to be paid eventually for those years of mistreatment.
That's the other reason I'm eating well. I'm trying to make up for lost time. But so far, the only I fucked a joke. So far, the only disease I've gotten is the disease of stupidity for anyone who knows me. So
as evidenced by your
it's evidenced by butchering the joke before it came out. Damn it, I had to set up. Anything more you want to tease out, Steve, on your book?
No, I would just the one thing that I would say is that prolonged fasting needs to be done under medical supervision for most people. However, the research has shown that daily fasting, this intermittent fasting, narrowing your feeding window, and if you can, moving it earlier in the day. If you can't, at least stacking your calories as much as you can earlier in the day, even if your window isn't entirely earlier. That virtually everyone can do Unless you've got some really rare disease or something that requires you to eat food every hour and a half, you can do time-restricted feeding. The research shows that it's safe. Scientists and doctors recommend it. It would be just a clean, easy, cheap, as you said, thing for people to do to up their health just a bit.
And then, as you mentioned, what's funny to me is people, the cheap and easy part of it, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the reason people kind of give it the queer eye. They're like, but it's not costing me anything, so it can't be real.
That's certainly what doctors and pharmaceutical companies say. That's one reason, actually, why it's not accepted by the medical establishment. Wait a minute. This free thing, you just let the body heal itself? Well, that's not medicine. What the hell is that?
Can't make any money off that.
Right.
It's there's so many people that use between depression, drugs, all sorts of ailments that they do. And then nowadays if you watch the drug commercials, the one drug causes ailments that you've got to take another drug to fix those ailments that probably give you another side effect, and there are people that have gone on fast and not only, quit being diabetics. I think if they're type 2 diabetes, they can have that potential to either manage it better or go off and not be diabetic anymore.
Yep.
And it's so great. Like my friend, he is one of my best friends I play with all the time on video games. He's got to lose some weight. He's in the military and they have, they're like, hey, you better get in shape, boy. And so he just went on a diet using my little game plan. I think he's still eating a little bad and he's drinking some booze, but he's gonna go do the journey. But he's lost, I think in a week he lost 10 pounds. And he's like, wow, this is good. And you feel great too. There's a real difference. You don't notice it until you fast, because when you're constantly digesting food and you're just like, oh my God, you're just like tired. And you're like, why am I so tired? I need sugar. And then once you start fasting and you get on healthy foods, you feel great. And you're not in a lethargic mode. Like, what's wrong with me? You don't need that sugar jack. You do need coffee.
Even if you don't change your diet, you find a lot of people just, they're eating the standard American diet. They're eating at McDonald's. They're eating Krispy Kreme. They get in this narrower feeding window. They start to feel a little bit better. They're not perfect because they're still eating crap, right? Okay. However, what they find is that this narrowed feeding window and this feeling of more energy gives them the oomph that they were lacking to then work on some of those other things. Well, maybe I'll a little less Taco Bell. Maybe I'll do a little more salad or something. And so the motivation to, if you dump everything on everyone at once, okay, you got to become vegan, you got to sleep right, you got to exercise, you got to eat within 6 hours a day. It's too much. But what a lot of people find is you put your feeding window in this narrower time, you gain a little bit more energy that may help you with some of those other goals.
Yeah, there you go. And one of the things I'll tease out here to recommend to people, a lot of what we eat is for taste. Like my mom has this thing that she does where she'll put the chocolate in her mouth and taste it. And she probably absorbs some of it, or she'll put like a donut in her mouth and then she gets the taste and she spits it out, which is really, really weird. But, my mom's great. But one thing I realized, and I think I might've gotten this from Resto, is we eat for taste. So you're eating that Big Mac, you're eating that Mountain Dew, you're doing that for that taste. And so what I learned about being veganese, people get upset with me. They write me later and go, there's 50 different versions of veganese, and those are the ones that are approved. I don't know what the fuck. But, don't get me started on the people who think that fish is still vegan. That's like some bullshit right there. Yeah, we're vegan, but we eat fish. That's still meat, motherfucker. It's in the dictionary. Shut up. Anyway, whatever. I'm not judging you. I was just doing jokes. But, the thing about that is I segued to the joke and then I lost the thing. What did I leave on before I segued?
Well, you started with tastes, and we eat for taste.
Oh, yeah. So we eat with taste. So one thing I learned about being a veganese, is if you can create really great tastes, and cook, maybe get some good cookbooks and stuff or different things,
you can make salads taste amazing. Like
Yeah.
I make crazy salads. I have a salad every day. It's a big old thing. It's got a spinach, which doesn't always taste the best if you eat it on its own. I'll eat broccoli.
But if you throw in some avocado.
Oh, you throw in some avocado, some fresh tomatoes. I throw in sprouts. There's a whole mess of crap that goes into my thing. Chia seeds. Like there's all sorts of stuff that goes into my salad. It's like a giant meal you'd eat at a restaurant when I get done. But there's so much stuff in there, but it's all fresh and healthy. And maybe I throw in a Big Mac on top of the salad or something. No, I don't do that. Anyways, it's been wonderful to have you on the show, Steve. We really appreciate you coming by.
Hey, great to be with you. Thank you.
There you go. Give us your plug so we can find you on the interwebs, please.
Yeah, so the book is called The Oldest Cure in the World, Adventures in the Art and Science of Fasting, and you can find links to it and me at stevehendricks.org.
There you go. Order up the books, guys. It comes out September 6th in about 6 or 5 or 6 more days. If you're watching the show 10 years from now on YouTube like you people do, don't tell me it's not whatever. The Oldest Cure in the World article or I might need something to eat now. Coffee. The Oldest Cure in the World, Adventures in the Art and Science of Fasting by Steve Hendricks. Get it wherever fine books are sold. Go see all the books we're reading and reviewing on thatgoodreads.com/Chris Voss. YouTube as well. Go to Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, all those places that we're at. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. Try fasting, and we'll see you guys next time.